So Banshees of Inisherin, Martin McDonagh, starring Brendan Gleeson and Colin Farrell, brings the team back from In Bruges, which is a really good movie if you haven't seen In Bruges. This is two lifelong friends find themselves at an impasse when one abruptly cuts off their friendship, and the consequences are alarming. The movie is set against a war with Ireland and the British, right around Irish independence. So you've got that sort of cannons in the background kind of thing. Very not subtle symbolism between a civil war and a war literally among friends. It's got a wonderful cast. Gleeson and Farrell are amazing, as they were in Bruges. What did you think of it?
This was one of my favorites of the year. I'm kind of hopelessly in the bag for Martin McDonagh at this point. I mean, In Bruges, Seven Psychopaths, Three Billboards, and now this. Like, the man has yet to miss fire as far as I'm concerned. But this is weirdly, like, I think this is his first film that is purely Irish, even though he himself is an Irishman. It's kind of weird that he hasn't really covered this terrain before, because it's his home turf, really. I mean, Inisherin doesn't exist. It's an island. It's a fictitious island off the coast of mainland Ireland, but there are other very idyllic, pastoral, rural islands that's around Ireland as it is, both on the Atlantic Ocean side and in the Irish Sea. So it's a believable setting. What struck me about this film, not just with the performances, because Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson are at the height of their powers, and not to be ignored are Kerry Condon and Barry Keoghan in fantastic supporting roles as well. The big thing here is that, like you said, it's an obvious microcosm of the big war for Irish independence going on the mainland, but it's also kind of this great form of melancholy irony, because you have an actual war with people trying to gain their freedoms for the first time in their 700-year history, basically. And then you have these two schmucks arguing about why they want to argue, basically. Like, I mean, Brendan Gleeson wants to cut off his friendship, and he cuts off a whole lot more. Spoilers, I guess. He wants to end this friendship because he's grown bored of Colin Farrell. That's it. He's just bored of him. He finds him monotonous and banal. And with what time he has left on this planet, he wants to focus on, writing folk music, leaving a legacy behind. And that's the brilliance of this, because both men essentially want the same thing. They want to be acknowledged. They have personal needs that need to be met. It's just that on Gleason's side, he feels that he has to fulfill it for himself. And on Farrell's side, he feels he needs to have it through interpersonal connections, especially in an area so insular where everyone knows everyone. There is no bit of gossip that doesn't like spread like wildfire and is known by the entire community. So any change in the status quo is a life-altering event for him. I mean, he's a simple dairyman, and his best friend in the world no longer wants anything to do with him. Like, and what's worse, he knows he didn't do anything. He's even told he didn't do anything. It's just Gleason's finished with him. It's like it's a concept that it's so hard to wrap your head around.
One of the things that in the movie it's definitely comes through is that Gleeson it's really not about his friendship with Farrell. It's the existential dread of I'm gonna die, and I have more years behind me than I do in front of me, and I think that it's one of those films that the older you get, probably the more you'll appreciate, because time does run out, and we all have that realization of like, oh man, I better get going, or else, I'm not gonna have left anything behind. I would definitely recommend it. I think people should see it, as I think you would as well. But it's one of those films that I don't think I can watch again. Like, it's not, it's not something I'm going to pull out once a year and be like, hey, let's check out this gem. Like, it's a good movie. It's well made, well acted. It looks gorgeous. McDonagh does a fantastic job, especially with the performances. It is reminiscent of his early Irish plays. You also have the other characters You got the people in the bar and so forth, which are all very real, well done characters. But I think the character of Colin Farrell's sister,
Yeah, Carrie Condon, Siobhan, yeah.
'cause I think she is feeling this as well. And I think what Gleason does by breaking off the friendship, I feel that ignites something in her.
It gives her permission, yeah.
Yeah, she says, you know what? I don't have to stay here. I can do something different in my life. The late, great Stephen Sondheim said in the song, you only leave two things behind in this world, children and art. And Gleason's realized, he's like, I don't have any kids.
Yeah.
There's nothing to leave after me. So all I can leave is my music. It's a very arty, kind of thing to say in a movie, but, it's well said.
Yeah, it's very resonant. I mean, especially if you grew up in a small town, if you've ever come from those kind of like rural areas, all four of the main characters really do represent the different types of people you will see in these towns. You have Gleason as the one who wants to make something of himself, whether it's by staying in town or leaving or doing just something a bit more than the banality of his existence. Carrie Condon is the one who needs to get out for the sake of her own soul, basically. Colin Farrell is the one who wants to just make a comfortable life for himself in an area where he knows he's never going to face true risk, and he's content with that. And then Barry Keoghan, as he's a very slow character. He's the one who has no chance. He's never going to get out, no matter what he does. And again, like if you've ever lived in these communities, you can point out all four of these people everywhere you look.